Oh, I've decided to take a break from dealing with races for a bit. I was making way too many videos on them. Well, entertaining and interesting and something I think needs to be done. I also think I need to branch out and deal with the other subjects I enjoy. And this time I'm going to be responding to J Frontier 1, and I think I might make this into a video series because there's quite a few different points that I want to address, and I think these should be addressed individually. This one is addressing, the concept that theism provides answers, and even better answers than atheism for various things. And there's one massive problem with the theistic answers. They can't be falsified, and therefore are not scientific. Of course, you might agree with that, I don't know. But the problem is, let's say God does not exist. Just for the argument's sake, let's say God does not actually exist. What method does your way of saying God did it do to verify if God exists or not? If God doesn't exist, then all your conjecture, all your ideas, all your things that sound better are completely useless. They're a waste of time. If he exists, they might be useful, but you still have to prove that he exists. And just saying yours provides better answers isn't an answer if these are false answers. And this is the problem that I and many atheists have, is that sticking God in as an answer doesn't provide anything. That's, I think I remember, I'm pretty sure I PM'd you this, but can you provide me a way that your method of saying God did these things can disprove God? Let's say God doesn't exist. Can your methods and your ideas of sticking God in there, can they actually find or in any way falsify God? Because if God doesn't exist, is there anything with your method that will provide the answer that God doesn't exist and that there has to be other explanations? Because if it doesn't, then it's completely useless, at least to me and many others. You may find them as answers, and God may possibly exist. I don't believe it. But if he exists, I want some evidence, because if he doesn't exist, I'm not going to waste my time going down a dead end. And yes, it's quite possible that atheism will never have, or I guess the science will never have the answers for everything. But it will provide answers. What answers we can discover, it will provide. And that's our best bet, is to go looking for the answers. Answers that can be verified. Answers that can be said to be 100% or as close to 100% true as anything. That is our best method. If God exists, he can show himself, or he can provide evidence. But until then, we are better off accepting no answer than an answer that does not provide anything. It doesn't explain anything. Even the most, with many of the things you probably respond with Big Bang and whatnot. There's such theories. I guess more hypothesis for some of these things. They're tentative answers. They may be falsified. There are multiple theories and hypotheses for how the universe was created, and the math points to various different ones. And none of them are accepted as 100% true. Big Bang is the leading theory, but I have my own ideas, and many scientists have their own ideas about the universe. And as I've said many times before, the time to give up, the time to say we don't have answers, is after we've exhausted every single possible attempt to find the answers. Before then, without evidence or strong reason other than this answer explains better, then we're just wasting our time. Even the scientists that are completely convinced of the Big Bang and string theory and M theory and all these other things don't stop looking for answers. Other scientists are still looking for answers in other possible ways. Just because we have a possible answer that explains fairly well doesn't mean we stop looking. Let's give up and say, well, this is the only answer. If we did that long ago, then we would never have discovered relativity or any other theory of science that improved or disproved earlier beliefs just because we had an answer. And God is the ultimate non-answer. And I will briefly bring it up, though I'm going to go into more details later. You bring up the quote, I think it was Carl Sagan, that I may be wrong, who said, that science cannot possibly, accept God as an explanation, no matter how absurd another explanation must be taken. And for this very, very, very reason. Because God cannot be falsified. And God, if God doesn't exist, then he isn't an answer. And if God exists, then all experiments are completely pointless because a being that powerful can muck up and ruin all explanations. And let me ask you this. Would you accept the supernatural explanation for, saying that electricity is created by Zeus, or that the Juju bird created the universe, and that's the answer, or that Allah created the universe? We can't accept these answers because there's many, many different answers and things that different societies and people have had over the years. And we can't accept them any more than we can accept your God, because it's not an answer, it's a non-answer. It just creates a gap. And science has to look at what can be verified as best as possible. And God is just a possibility, but that's it. It's not verifiable, and the supernatural creates too many problems. And if supernatural doesn't exist, again, you're wasting time looking into things that don't exist by putting them as answers. So this is why atheism, for me at least, doesn't accept all these answers. I will never accept God without evidence, because there always might be a better answer out there if we keep looking.